Well, today's yammering is going to be about a couple of different things. Mrs. C and I reorganized the garage this weekend. As you can see behind me, we've got things actually hanging up on the wall rather than underfoot on the floor being tripped on and whatnot. One of the things I want to talk about is technology a little bit. We recently switched our phone and internet service, the old POTS telephone type system with ADSL for the internet, and we switched that over to AT&T Uverse. But we're kind of on the tail end of their run from the neighborhood node. Our service here is slow but usable. I think if you go back in the videos, I made a little short video about when they came that day and installed it. And so far I've been pretty happy. But over the last couple of days, usually from about 9 in the morning to about 9 p.m., somewhere in that 12-hour period, the phone will just ring for no apparent reason. And you pick it up, hello, and there's nobody on the other end. Just you don't have a dial tone or anything. So I did a little research on the internet this evening and found that in and of itself is not a particular problem people are having, but they're experiencing other odd issues. First thing to do is, go reboot your motor. So I did that, and that seemed to straighten it up. It's funny how we put so much stock in everyday thing and that we expect to work, and then we determine the fragility of all of these systems working together to make this work. I mean, it's great and convenient to be able to sit down in front of the computer and just type away and pay your bills and balance your checkbook. But what happens when the modem locks up? What happens when there's a thunderstorm and you don't have connectivity, or your cell towers get blown over and you can't connect with your iPhone, or, oh, this app quit working. What am I going to do? Oh, when I was a kid, we barely had 3 channels of TV to watch, and now we've got YouTube and the internet itself and anything, any variety. An idiot in his garage in the middle of the night making a video, somebody finds that entertaining. At least 30 or 40 people have in the past. We depend on all the systems working all the time. And when they don't, we're just kind of at a loss. Well, what do I do? And in the scenario this evening where maybe your internet's not working, so you pick up the phone. Well, now when you have voice over IP, which is what Uverse technically is, it's like Vonage. There is no landline to the central office anymore. Your phone is going through the internet connection. So in the past, if my internet didn't work, I could at least pick the telephone up, call the helpline, and they could step me through what to do. Well, now I can't even pick the phone up because it's connected to my internet. And then AT&T, they're no different than Verizon or any other phone company. They're switching all of this over nationwide to this Uverse deal. And once they switch you over, there's no going back, because once they get their customers switched over to it, they're immediately ripping out the old gear to make room for the new gear, which is fine. To be an auto mechanic, and some of the stuff that we worked on in the 70s and 80s, junk. And somebody told me a couple, 3 years, they just don't make cars like they used to. I'm glad. I mean, cars today are much more dependable. And as evolutionary speaking, as the technology, the wrinkles get ironed out of it, and everybody kind of adopts it or gets on board with it, it'll get better, hopefully. Or to get worse, and the whole society will just totally collapse because our apps aren't working. We live in a society where we depend on apps to get through our daily life, subway schedules or bus routes, or say you want to take a day trip or a couple of days and explore a part of the state you haven't been to very often, or maybe never been to at all. And you're driving around and you don't know where you're at. Well, you don't have a atlas in your car. Oh, I've got this smartphone here and it's got GPS and Google Maps, and here, let me just punch it up. Now you're depending on a lot of different systems working in unison and working well, get you on the right road to get back home. And you might find yourself in the middle of a cornfield somewhere and go, well, I can't even stop and ask anybody. I don't really have an answer for that. because I'm kind of a technology hound myself. I like gadgets. I'm fascinated with scientific discovery and stuff, as long as it's legit. They're not trying to sell me a bill of goods like, oh, the sky's falling and the ice is melting and we're all going to die. At the same time, you also have to have a foundation of basic understanding and how things work. You don't have to be a professional to be able to change a tire. Everybody should know how to change a tire, be able to check their oil. Uh, and they should be aware that the oil has to be changed ever so often. Since we're sticking with the car analogy. Um, but the same thing with your computer. I mean, it doesn't matter if you have what platform you're using. Um, it requires a certain amount of maintenance and vigilance to make sure that you're not just soaked up with all kinds of malware and whatever. Which, if everybody has some sort of bug running on their machine, it just slows down the whole process for everybody. Because people just assume, hey, I take this little plug here and I plug it into the wall and ooh, I'm connected to the world. But they don't understand how the world comes to them through that plug. All the backhaul, all the stuff that goes on behind the curtain where the wizard's pulling all these strings and turning knobs and whatnot. And if those knobs don't get turned correctly, the strings pulled with the right tension, then all of a sudden you're not connected and everything slows down to a this evening, I had to go back there and literally power off the modem for a period of time, power it back up, let it go through its boot up process, which took a couple, 3 minutes. And everything seems to be working fine again. But what if that was the modem being used in the hospital when you were having open heart surgery and the surgeon doing the surgery? The surgeon's a good cutter. He might know how to hold a scalpel and he may know just exactly where to cut to open you up and whatever. But maybe he's never done a heart bypass. And he's taken play-by-play real-time advice from another surgeon who has performed this operation on many occasions, and they're doing it over chat over the internet, which happens and will continue to happen even more so going forward in the future. And all of a sudden his modem locks up right in the middle when I do I plug this artery or do I cut it out, or and the blood splurting everywhere and we only got 3 packets of plasma over here and this guy's going to die if the internet don't come back up. That kind of sounds far-fetched, but that could happen. We just assume all this stuff's going to work, and that we just assume that everything's just going to be great. We'll just keep doing what we're doing, take all these systems for granted. I mean, it's no different than when your refrigerator goes on the fritz and you're like, oh, really? I don't have time to sit here and clean out my fridge and go maybe either get a repairman or I don't have the budget to go buy a new one. So we assume that all this stuff's going to work every day. We're not going to have any problems. And then when we do, we've tied ourselves down with so many things to do every day, from having our smartphone to making sure we got the right cup of coffee, going through the drive-through at the Starbucks to get your coffee and their Wi-Fi's down. You're like, I can't surf my news this morning while I'm having my coffee. Oh, I'm sorry, sir, but our router fried last night and we don't have anybody that knows how to power it off and back on. A simple matter of just being able to unplug the router, wait a couple of minutes, plug it back up, let it do its thing. Everything's fine. Now everybody goes into a panic because they don't know at all to think openly, comprehend, like, okay, well, how is this supposed to work? It gets that signal from a room back there, and there's this black box, and the green light should be blinkety blink. Well, the green lights are solid. Well, we don't know what to do. We'll have to call tech support. Well, maybe just turn it off and turn it back on. Maybe just resetting it'll fix it. And 9 times out of 10, boom, yeah, that fixes it. Because the first thing you do when you call tech support, hello, my computer stopped working. Have you rebooted it? I mean, that's always the first question. Show off my beautiful new organization here. Built this gun rack when I was in high school, and it makes for an excellent hose and cord organization tool there. In some of the past videos, you'll see, I think, matter of fact, the last stand-up talk I had, I walked you around and showed you the big pile of vinyl material that we had over here. Well, I'll show you now that it's been pared down quite a bit. I get this off my face. Yeah. Last time this was all piled up. I had a bunch of scrap, so we got rid of a lot of scrap we didn't need and This is materials yet to be used. And these big red shelves that we've got over here, they were leaning up against my cabinet here for about a year or so. So now my cabinet's open where I can get the stuff. And everything has a place now. Got my ramps up off the floor, oil change stuff up there on a shelf. So we're pretty happy with it. And over here we put in another piece of counter that just does fit above my air compressor. And it houses a lot of stuff. Some of that stuff's yet to be put in other places, or it's going to be put in a yard sale or whatever. But at least we got a little bit more organization going on here, and it's not just all piled up and tripping over everything. So I've sat here and blathered on about various and sundry things, and I'm not sure if I can take any of this and make any kind of a sensible video. But hey, what would make this one any different than the ones you've seen in the past? None of them are sensible. So we'll do what we can with this dialogue and try to put it into a nice little package where it won't be too idiotic. But we'll see what happens. We thank you for watching, and please tune in again.